I hope everybody's staying warm. It's cold out there.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sophia. You're the real champ
Why is that?
because last minute, like you're going to get stuff for me and you're still on the mastermind.
I'm trying.
Good morning, Gary, Kathy. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
We'll wait another minute or so and then we'll get started.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, Donna, should we get started?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, perfect. Okay. Everybody sees my Tuesday Mastermind screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I kind of wanted to go over the CRM basics because I think that there's reasons why we can't use it because I think it seems so complicated, but really isn't. I'm going to walk you through some of the things that I do. And again, I really went into it wanting to be able to talk about it, train on it, and really use it because I think it's going to benefit all of us as agents and your production. Not sure if you guys were on the profile check. I'm going to briefly go over it very quickly, but that's really the first thing that you need to do. And before that, I'm going to go over why having a CRM is important. It's just did some research on it and it just really helps you become more organized. It's supposed to help you. So every day you time block to go into your CRM and look at your clients and where you are and who are people that you haven't touched base with. Who didn't I put in my database? And it keeps you organized. It keeps you in touch with clients, past clients, and it says here 47% more commission on the average than people who haven't used it. So if hold on to oops. So look at, some of the data that they have online. It's, 2 to 3 times higher as far as lead conversion goes. And, the 47% income growth and the client retention. Remember, NAR did a study and said, 89% of clients really loved working with their agents and they would use them again and had such a great positive experience. But 29% really go back to them because after 5, 6, 7 years, they've forgotten, and the person next door or their cousin or whoever's kind of in their face or in their top of mind are the ones getting, the business because we haven't really worked at keeping the clients and having retention. So that's kind of why we want to use the CRM. So I did a whole, mastermind, and I think that's something, that we have, of course, on the hub to go back to if you haven't done it already. This is really one of the first steps. You think that you're going to get this done like boom, 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 but if you don't have your profile set up, nothing is going to work. So no present, no. So every time I do any kind of bold trail training, I always stress that because someone will definitely come to me and say, "Oh, I have a listing presentation I have to do, and can you, create like a CMA, but I can't because you didn't take the time to, update your profile and put all the information in, especially those who are using NJMLS. There's an IDX form, then you pay that one-time $25 fee. But those are things that you have to do to make sure that your profile is complete. So I always mention it. So you go on that, Max Tech, and here's the main profile, Max Center, and make sure your license number is in there. There's a whole bunch, but I just wanted to make sure, the MLS affiliation and go just that whole tab, profile, overview, general info. You're going to go one by one and go over that. But these are the standout things that I want to go over because without the connection to the MLS ID and your license, nothing is really going to come over. And when you go into Bold Trail, here's that profile section again. But a lot of it does feed off of this profile where you're at Max Tech. So if you've updated and filled everything out and put everything in here, it does generally come over here pretty much. But even in here, you're also putting in your MLS IDs in there. And it'll say like, look up your ID and you put it in. Again, it all connects and you need that information. And when you're doing a listing presentation or sending out emails or just listed emails or searches, if there's no MLS connected or an IDX, it's not going to work. So you'll be frustrated. And that's why a lot of people, I think, do complain like, oh, nothing is working. But it's only because you didn't take the time to set it up. So just please, you can reach out to me, to anybody like your managers, but feel free to reach out to me and say, I'm not sure how to set up my profile. And go back to that YouTube, the mastermind that I did. It says, BoldTrail profile check on there and kind of go over it because that's really your first step. So just wanted to go over that before I go into anything else. So here's, if you don't know what CRM, everybody usually does, it's a client relationship management system. And we're going to talk about how you can get your contacts in there. Okay. Again, it's a relationship management system. You gotta go in there every day, look at your clients and your contacts and think about like, how did I get this person and who is that person? Did I reach out to that person? And it really is makes a time for you to go back to your prospect and do some prospecting in there. And that's what it's meant for. But if you have no contacts in there, it's useless. So let's go over how you get your contacts in there. First is your open house app. I love this app. And can I just tell you, if you were at a different company, this would be an extra fee, maybe $1.50 each, like I think a month. And sometimes they have that, but this is free for us. It's all included, but it's also connected to your CRM. So it will be most beneficial for you to use that open house app. Okay. And later on, I'm going to show you, I have a QR code where that app is very hard to find. I tried looking for it like without the link and it was very difficult. So you see right here on your left, you see that it's an app on my phone. That's the background, my son's shirt, and I have it on my phone. And I also have it on my iPad because this is really all it takes is right here, you put the MLS number and then you start and they ask you a couple of questions that you want to add on there. But by putting the MLS number, you don't have to be the listing agent. It just does populate all the information and actually has a photo of, the house and general information does come in there. And here's the questions that I opted, like, they do require, the name, email. I did require the phone number on there. And there's two questions. Are you working with an agent? And do you have an exclusive buyer agency agreement? And I do put that. And I think the only question I don't put on there is how did you hear about this? Now, I did have like some agents say like, well, it's such a hassle. No one is going to go and fill up your iPad. If they don't have an option for the paper, right? And because I did have an open house where we did both, everybody opted for the paper because it's just easier and they can just scribble whatever they want. But on the open houses that I've helped, and I just had the iPad, everyone just walked up, they stayed in line, they filled it up, and I got all their information. If anyone, and nobody did, but if anyone says, like, well, I don't want to give that information and just say for security reasons, I do have to have that information because what if something was missing in the house? That something happened, where one of, the seller's items were missing and the police report was done and they asked for all the people that came in and their information. So it is a security issue. So that's what I wrote. Just for security issues, we have to know everyone that has come in and nobody says anything anymore. Okay. And so this is going to be really important when I do see that they are working with an agent. They do come on my CRM and I'll show you. I just kind of the way I handle it. But this is all the information. And after it's done, they give all of this. But not only this, it goes right into your CRM, okay? And it's amazing. So here it is. Okay. And then when they go into my CRM, they get an immediate, I would say, maybe an hour or so. I'm not sure exactly what time, but they get an email saying, hey, this is the home that you saw. Thank you for coming to my open house. And if you see, look at everybody that came in, they clicked on my email or text. They saw it, they viewed the listing, they want to see it in detail. Okay. So talk about like, I did have flyers, but talk about, being more tech, right? And these are the things that you're doing. I know that they are interested in the house. They viewed the listing that I sent. Okay, not back on Zillow, not back on MLS. And this is what came up. So this right here on the left side is the CRM app. Again, I'm gonna send you the QR code, or you're gonna see it on my presentation. And right at 7 o'clock after my, the open house, this guy, well, please do put me on an automated list. I didn't send it. They did. My CRM did, right? And they have a very plain language. It's not so it can't be like detected. It does sound like I wrote it. One of them was like, "Do you want some good deals? Do you want to miss? You don't want to miss out on some good deals, do you?" And they're like, "No, yes, put me on a list." So it's really great. Like if I go into it and I read the text and see what was sent out, it's very exciting to me, and it should be exciting to you. But it becomes here on my CRM on the app. These are my prospects. Those are the people that came. They clicked on the listing, and it doesn't say lead because actually they have to opt in. But someone like this guy who opted in will say it'll say not prospect lead. Okay. Not at any point as by required by law, they can unsubscribe. So they unsubscribe. But at least you're doing something and not being like, oh, I gotta go home and look at my list and rewrite their name and retype and is this an L or number one? Or, it's so much easier if you set it up and you use this. Okay. So I wanted to kind of show you that's what it looks like when you have both apps and you do get notifications on the app. Okay. So here's the QR code. This is for, Androids right here and on the bottom, and this is for the Apple. So it's good for you to take a picture of it and download the app and start working on it. And you will need your Max Tag BoldTrail credentials to get in. And yes, it does ask you to, send you the code or, verify. And the thing about the two apps is that you do have to sign in. Like let's say you don't use it or, and it's been like maybe a month or two, they do require you to sign back in. However, if there is activity, you still get notifications on your phone. So, like I haven't been on there, but I've gotten notification. I'll show you what kind of notifications I get. So that's one way of getting your contacts in. If you have an open house and it's your listing, perfect. If you're sitting at an open house that's not your listing, perfect. It just is automatic. Next is actually exporting them let's say you have a bunch. The way, if you feel like, oh, you don't have a master list for your clients, the way I go when I'm kind of training agents is to go into their MLS. And if you go into an MLS and and everyone that you sent emails to, right? You have their names and their emails, right? So you go into the contacts of your MLS, and then JMLS is used primarily what I use, and you export it. And it actually export, I go to the contact section and I just go export. It asks for a CSV file and immediate exporting goes down onto your download. And here you go into, now we're in BoldTrail, and right here on the left side, you see all the tab. You go to this thing where it says more, and then this will pop out and you're going to do playbooks. And when you have the playbooks, you're going to say, gather your sphere. And after that, it's this part where it's this one first, gather your sphere, and you say, okay, I want to, open this playbook. And basically, they have two options, like let us handle it or do it yourself. Just let them handle it. Let them do the work. It's so much easier. And they do say like it's going to take like 3, 4 days, but it really took them like a day or two, because um, it's just easier. Why not? And when you do right here, it says submit file. They do ask you like, how do you want them in there? And sometimes they'll ask you something if you want to add hashtags. And hashtags are basically like search words that you would put on there. So anyone that came in through my open house app, sometimes they on the open house app, they do ask you, do you want to put hashtag? So I would put like Cresskill Open House. So I know when I'm doing a search and I want to reach out to all the people that were looking at homes in Cresskill, I search up that hashtag and then they come up. But if I don't put a hashtag in the open house app, it'll just say open house and actually has Cresskill on there. So I realized I didn't really have to do that. Now for this, when you do have it, there's like a form that you fill out. It'll ask you like your name and blah and upload, and it does give you that option of do you want to use a hashtag, and you can just say NJMLS clients on there, so you kind of know. It's good to know where your client, like when you have a group of clients and as you're collecting data, it's good to know who they are and where they came from. And if it's a lead that came from our system, it does tell you where the lead came from. Sometimes it'll say Zillow, sometimes it'll say Remax.com, and it nurtures it for you. Okay, and I'll kind of briefly talk about that as well. So that's one thing there. That's how you get. Okay, that's one way to get your contacts in. And the last one, I guess I didn't set up, is that you can do a manual ad where you add them one by one, and I'll show you that on the live demo. Okay, so what do you do when you have your contacts in? These are all the things that you could do. I think there are a couple of things that I saw that I didn't know, like I was called a seller something, and I was like, I don't know what that means. So I'm not going to talk about that, but there's email and text campaigns that you can add them on. There's a market report that goes out when you set them up. You can set them up on actual listings. Okay, again, your IDX needs to be set up. And you can also send them presentations, whether it's a buyer's presentation or a seller's presentation. And there's notes in history that you can go back and you add notes on there. Sometimes, if it's a lead that comes from the system, they even like know that if you've talked to that person and reached out to that person. But notes in history is very important because you are going to put specific notes on there. It's because you won't remember everything. So if it's someone that you talked about, like, yeah, I'm kind of looking, but I don't know, like maybe 6 months or maybe a year when we're an empty nester, like you're going to put some of that information on there. So when you are looking back at that specific contact, kind of what to say and just say, oh yeah, last time we talked. And if it's like very specific, there are agents that are very specific as well. They'll say like, oh, baseball team, my son and their son are close and they're thinking about buying. So I'll put some of all of those notes on there to make sure when I'm touching base with them, it's not so salesy. It's something that, you can kind of talk about like, oh yeah, the baseball, remember that game? And then they kind of connect with you in a personal level. So so here is where you set up the search. When a lead comes in, or like if it's from the open house app, there is an automatic campaign that goes in. So do you see right here, it says active campaign and it's an active buyer. So technically, you're really not doing anything on there. And if let's say you add somebody in and you put them as a lead, it definitely it will trigger this campaign to go through. I'm not 100% sure, but there's a market report. So if that person, so all those people that came in my open house in Cresskill, I'm either setting them up or the system, if they opt into it, the system sets them up on the Cresskill or even on a search. They start searching, automatic search alerts for them, and they get sent emails about new listings that come up. I'm not sending them. Okay. And here you can do a direct presentation, but I did, several trainings on buyers presentation and sellers presentation. And when they are a contact and it's all connected, I know when they've opened it. And so, but you can also create it from here. The listing valuation and the seller's report, I'm not quite sure 100%. So I'll have to do some research and see, maybe send it to myself and see what that looks like. So I set myself up, and you should definitely set yourself up as one of your contacts. Just don't choose a different email because they will, kind of know. And this is what the market report looks like. I set it up for Fort Lee, and when you click on it, it actually is a very customized page, all branded around you with the listings, the average, how many sold, what was new, and just really great report. I see top agents doing it. They also have an automated system as well. It's just you're not using it. There are tons of, not even tons, I would say even other companies have maybe tools like this. They're just not using it. So set yourself apart and make that extra work so that they are getting those reports. You'd be surprised how many people do click on it, especially like if you know somebody who's thinking about selling. I'm just going to send you some reports so you know what's going on around your town, and they love to look at like, what sold next to me, in my area, right? And when I sent also a presentation, this is what it looks like. And if I opened it, it will be, in my history that I opened it. And if you go into the presentation, it tells you like what page I stopped on. So it's, all of that information is going to be great because you'll kind of gauge how much interest that client has with you and with the things that you're sending. So just recently, through January, I've gotten all my contacts. Again, you know, I'm using these things because I'm very passionate about that, but I'm not doing full business, so I'm not active. But if I was an agent, I would be all over this. Within January, this guy, he was probably, I was sending him stuff, but he probably didn't click on it for a long time. It says lead revisits after 14 days. I get a notification. This guy, this lady, this person, right? It's all from my email. I get notifications. So I didn't actively do it, but by being set up, by using the Open House app or doing the export and, setting them up, it's doing the work for you. Okay. So let me stop sharing. Okay. Any questions on that? I know it feels like a lot, but I promise if you use it, it will be easier,
So, Mary,
Yeah.
if an agent was starting off with BoldTrail, this is their first time, or they didn't do a good job, where should they begin first? Because it is a lot. So, the first step is creating their profile, setting it up, putting your license number, MLS IDs, making sure that's connected. What's step two?
Step two is gathering your contacts. Sometimes all of us have like contacts here and it's not organized. That is where I get the stop. I get top agents coming to me and saying, "Hey, I need help. I want to use this. It's slow right now." And I'm like, "Okay, now you got to get a master list of all these people that you know, and they're so unorganized, but they're so successful, right? But they could be so much more successful if they have a system working for you, and it's so overwhelming for them and that they stop. And so I'm like, this is your homework to gather your contacts. But if you time block and you do it little bit at a time and don't get overwhelmed and you slowly start doing that, it'll become part of your process.
Can they also import the data and allow KV Core support team to actually import the contacts into the CRM?
Yes, it's so easy. It's so
So they don't
easy.
have to do it on their own. So if you have them on the Excel sheet, it will take about 2 to 3 business days, but you don't have to actually sit there and import one by one.
No. And they tell you, like, oh, your upload has been done.
So let's see, there's some questions. What happens with the app when we are doing an open house that is empty and there is no Wi-Fi? Obviously, you do need Wi-Fi unless you have cell data on your iPad or any type of electronic device.
So what I do is I go on my hotspot. So I share my hotspot with my data, my phone, and then that seems to work because it doesn't need a whole bunch of, only time it needs Wi-Fi to go is when they click, they put in all the information and the new page goes up for the next person. That's like really, so it works fine with my hotspot,
I've
personal
also
hotspot.
noticed with having an app for the open house, it has been studied that if somebody's writing their phone number, they're going to write the wrong number. But mentally, when you're typing, you're not going to type in the wrong phone number.
I I'm
So
telling you, they all you saw that page where everybody opened it, that means it was the correct email,
I
and
know there's some agents, they don't even print out the flyer. They'll say, oh, enter your information. As soon as you click submit, you'll get the MLS listing on your phone. That way, it's impossible for them to write the phone number. So that's another way to do it. Um, so I'm a big fan, and it doesn't have to be like a fancy iPad. I know some agents have bought like an electronic device for $30 on Amazon, and they use that as well.
excellent, right? So I'm just because we're out of time, just quickly, I am going to share exactly where you can do it, because honestly, so this is what I showed you the screenshot. Right here, when you add the search, it tells you like how what the frequency is, and you can have yourself, but it you have everything, and the areas you can do multiple areas, you can draw as well the minimum, okay, and bathrooms, and then you just set it up. Okay, so that's, and then that's the search alerts. This is the active campaign. There are other campaigns, so there's like conversation starters for buyer leads. This is the active renter, default active. So they're not leads, they're active sellers. So the sellers are going to get some information. So you can kind of see what it looks like. So there's various things that you can add on there. So I know a lot of my open house, contacts, the campaign has ended. So I actually added, I just recently just added like a lead, buyer lead campaign on there. Okay. And here's the market report. Again, you just do add, and um, you just do once a month, and the location, you just start typing in, and it just comes up right here. And then you can add. And here's the present. I always like to go to the present. I did the training on that as well. And I do that separately. But you can see, like, this is the history. And honestly, it this program that we have, BoldTrail, it nurtures the leads for you. So it already does the work for you. And something like a lead nurture program is actually something you would pay for separately. It's not just there to store stuff. It kind of nurtures it. Okay. I hope
This
you
was
guys
great.
start and you can reach out anytime.
This was phenomenal. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. And just remember, in order to get access to Bold Trail, you have to pay your 410 dues. Otherwise, you will
Yeah.
not have access. So make sure you have to use your remax.net email and you'll have a password. That's how you get into Bold Trail.
All right. Thanks, you guys. See you guys
Thank
next
you.
Thank
week.
you.
Okay.
Bye.